live on the gram.
It's real quick. That's where everybody will probably wind up joining. I should ask Lane if we could post it in his too. That'd be cool. I'm sure he wouldn't care, but I don't want to do it without asking.
Well, yeah, true.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to a special edition of Metalheads Unite. As you can see, we have a guest on the show today, and I guess I could put the banner up so you know who the hell we're talking to. So, we are joined by Joe Calderon. Hopefully, I pronounced that correctly. Vocalist for Lightworker. If you're not familiar with those guys, I did a review on them a couple of weeks ago. The new album just came out, How the Beautiful Decay. Just wanted to welcome Joe on the show, and thank you guys for all the communication and getting this set up. I know it was a little back and forth there in the beginning, so but we by all means do not want to hinder your live shows, because I know that's a big part of your guys' income. So
yeah, well, much appreciated, but we're happy to be here now. We're glad that we were able to figure something out, and stoked to talk music and hang out.
Yeah, like I said, big shout out to Shane. What was his last name?
I want to say Heimdall, but I know that's like isn't that like part of Thor and all?
Yeah,
it's almost like Handel.
Yeah, Shane.
One way or the other. I apologize if I butchered, but Shane was great with setting this up, and I was just telling you before we came on, and most of the time when we have a third party involved, it kind of gets we get lost in the mix somewhere.
Yeah,
and never comes to fruition. So we appreciate Shane's hard work and getting us both communicated and set up. So, like I said, we appreciate you taking your time out as well. So.
And I mean, you guys as a band have been busy. I was noticing on Instagram earlier that Grayson earlier tonight was doing an interview with somebody. So I was like, God damn, they're all over the place.
Oh, shit, we can't do them all over. We have to separate out. So.
Well, yeah, but I mean, hell, if you can divide and conquer like that, it works out. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and there's only 3 of us in the band, so it's one of those things where it's just kind of like, hey, I mean, are you hanging with your lady tonight? Like, because I just want to make sure, and so we divide and conquer. But like I said earlier, it's a great opportunity to just hang out with folks and meet new folks, and then when you do these kind of things, and you're finally able to meet them in person at a show and whatnot, it just makes it that much better. It's just like you're picking up where you left off,
Right.
And just so we, like I said, me and Chris are both thrash fans, so we're very familiar with San Francisco Bay Area's music heritage there. So
yes, we are.
Not a bad place to come from if you're in the metal industry, for sure. So
no, yeah, Southern California is shit. You figure between Southern California and hell, England. Well, I'll be a little more broad. I'll give the entire UK some credit, because I know England is just a part of the UK. So I mean, between the UK and Southern California, I think heavy metal in general has got a pretty good foundation. Thankfully it grew in the 60s and 70s and 80s, and now it's literally a worldwide genre, which we think is amazing. I mean, we've interviewed bands from all over the place at this point. I mean, Europe. The only place we haven't interviewed somebody from yet is Russia. I forgot about Russia, but is Asia. We haven't interviewed any from Asia yet. Not like we wouldn't, because we absolutely would. But I mean, we've interviewed from Belgium, Germany, Scotland, the whole of Scandinavia, Finland and Sweden, and we've here in the United States. We've been over to Australia. So I mean, we're all over the place. So I mean, there's really not a continent, save from Antarctica, of course, unless Metallica goes down there. But I mean, there's not a continent that heavy metal doesn't touch. And that's one of the things we love about this genre that we think you really can't say about a lot of the other musical genres.
Absolutely, I completely agree. I just noticed while in the process of doing a few of these different interviews, it kind of dawned on me that heavy music in general is the only genre in which you can almost be immediately validated based on how much people are beating the shit out of each other in the pit. You know, because I mean, you don't go to a jazz show and you don't see like, you know, I mean, that happening. You don't see that at a country show. I mean, yeah, they beat the tar out of each other, but that's because they're drunk. But like, but it's one of those things though where it's like, and not only that, it's the only genre where it's like, hey, if somebody falls down, you pick them up because that way the fun keeps going. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
a very united thing. Just heavy music in general, whether it's hardcore or metal. You know, and it's kind of cool because you're starting to see a lot of. I think for a while, you know, we're kind of getting historical here, but obviously, in the early outs of metalcore, you know, hardcore and metal were definitely at odds back in the late '90s, early 2000s, and then you got bands like, you know, Overcast and Killswitch Engage and bands like that that started to combine those genres, and then you know, it was no longer a bad thing. And then I think for a little while it separated again, but I think we're kind of coming back where you're hearing a lot of these bands pick up those different influences, and including thrash. There's a lot of thrash crossover that's going on right now, and that's pretty rad.
I think my favorite crossover with thrash was I don't know if you've heard of the band. They're I'm gonna tell you this and I'll forget the name of the band now. Oh, you know what? All I gotta do is look at that middle. It pulls them straight up.
Oh, I think I know where you're going with this.
Native Howl. That's the name.
Yeah.
Of it. And they were on a show. I can't remember what the name of that show was. But anyway, it was like a game show they were on.
Are you
not
talking
a game show, but like a musical contest show or whatever.
you talking about that show that had like Alice Cooper and
I don't think it was that.
that?
I don't know if it was that one or not. I can't remember.
I remember you tell. I remember.
Yeah, they've had so many of them. Like I was watching it, and like these guys come out and they said, "Well, we do a new genre called thrash grass," and I'm like, they missed bluegrass with thrash, and I was just like, "What the fuck is?" You know? And then they started playing it, and I was like, "Oh my god, this works! Like, how in the fuck does this work?" But it did. It sounded so good. I'm just like, dude, this is amazing. Like, I guess if you got that formula, I mean, you can make it go. You know, you can make a go of it, I guess. But
even one of my one of the bands that I really like called I'm sure you guys are familiar with Soilwork.
I am.
You know, it's crazy because my favorite album, I think most people's favorite album is probably Stabbing the Drama, but mine personally is the Panic Broadcast, and there's a song on there where Peter Witchers was saying that during the time that they were actually writing and recording the record, he was learning how to do the country style of chicken picking, you know, on guitar.
Oh yeah.
And then he implemented that into one of their songs, and he broke it down and he played it slower, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's totally chicken picking. But he just totally translated it into a metal song, and you wouldn't have guessed otherwise, because you just throw a little bit of distortion and reverb on there and boom, it's metal.
And I'll tell you what, man, their last album was great too. I'm not going to try to pronounce it because it was in German and I ain't butchering that shit. But it was a banger, dude. I love that album.
Yeah.
Were you talking about over Given Heaton?
Yeah, there you go.
I think that was.
Yeah.
I think that was the name of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a mouthful. But that just lends credence to the theory that I've always had that heavy metal makes everything better.
You know, I mean, it's even gotten to the point where, you know, I'm a generation here. So my mom was born and raised in El Salvador in Central America. Okay. And, you know, so the music that I grew up on was, you know, traditional Latin music. and just like Motown and soul and classical.
Mhm.
And I was huge into classical. So as a kid, I was a total nerd, playing violin and stuff. And but of course, as I got older, discovered the guitar, and I realized, hey, there's a lot of similarities between classical music and metal music.
Sure.
And at first, my mom was all like, "Oh no, what are you listening to?" And then slowly but surely, I mean, now, I mean, she kind of she appreciates it. I mean, it's not her favorite. She's not gonna put it on, but like if we're in the car or something like that, she was all like, "Oh yeah, just leave it on." So it's pretty cool.
So what I took from that is Joe was a lover before he got into metal. So
I still am. I still am. I'm, like that's why we have songs like Evergreen.
yeah.
Just trying to croon a little bit. Tap into that Sinatra.
Yeah. A little something for the ladies, as it was.
You see him like the little pebble on the window, and he's out there with his violin. Oh, girl.
Exactly.
Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, but that's how you get him there. You get him there with the guitar, and then, or that, not the guitar. You get him there with the violin, and then you hit him with a breakdown.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that's a little bit different for me. I was in a band at 15, and I was a bass player, and bass players never get laid. So,
You know what's funny? Before this band, I had never fronted a band. I actually almost always played bass, and I did kind of like co-vocals.
gotcha.
But this was the first band that they were just kind of like, yeah, you're go over there, go sing. So I was like, okay. So yeah, it's been an interesting experience for me because I guess in the early days of this band, I remember going on stage and feeling so naked without an instrument in my hands, and I feel like, and and all the other guys, they've been playing their instruments forever, since they were teenagers and whatnot. And so for me, it was just like, well, I just have this stupid mic, like, and it's like I can't do anything cool with it. It's just really weird. I just have me and myself basically, and but I would say with the touring experience that we've gotten, um, like I'm really starting to learn what it is like to be in the crowd and just kind of like interact with them and whatnot, and it becomes a very intimate thing. And I think that's the thing about metal music in general, or just heavy music in general, is that when done right, as cheesy as it sounds, I feel like metalheads have the parts because they're the ones that actually pay attention to the lyrics. They pay attention to the riffs, the drum fills. They and then like they collect the vinyl. They're reading at who produces it, and they give a shit about that. So in reality, like metalheads are pretty hardcore and romantic in that sense. Not romantic in the sense of love, but romantic in the sense of like, hey, there's an attachment to this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they are very judgmental. So,
well, that's yeah, that's true. I mean, sometimes that can be like, when you get the gatekeepers, those people kind of suck because I mean, because like you said a little bit ago, all of us, metalheads or fan, whether it's metalcore, post hard, whatever it is, just the metalheads in general. Speaking in those general terms, I mean, we're all pretty tight. We pretty much take care of each other. Like you said, like you were talking about at a show, someone gets knocked down, you pick them back up. So I mean, people take care of each other. You've seen videos of them picking people up in a wheelchair and letting the people in wheelchairs, get the crowd surfing experience. So I mean, by and large, 99.9% of the time, everyone is real cool with everybody. Because I mean, there's all sorts of there's people from everywhere. You have a Latin American background. We're just a couple of white dudes, but I mean, like I say, we've talked to people from all over the place, and that's like the one, quote unquote language that we all have, because we talked to a German band and they were worried about being able to talk. They're like, German's not our first, or they were like, English isn't our first language. They were concerned about coming on and being able to, actually interact with us. And they did fine, so I mean, but the legitimate language barrier aside, I mean, the music is what literally unites us all, no pun intended with us being called Metalheads Unite, but
Yeah,
that's always kind of like the bottom line for all of us.
right.
And it's one of those things we feel like in that respect as fans, because like I don't know how to play any instruments. Jason's got his background in bass, but I don't know how to play any instruments. But when it comes to this particular music, us as fans, we kind of feel like we have a connection with you guys as the artists, and we feel like the music is ours, quote unquote, because of that.
Absolutely.
And I feel like we spend a lot more time, like we was talking to you earlier about, we do a lot of time over in Europe and like, Sweden and Finland and stuff like that. I think we do that because of those bands are smaller, like you guys are here, but they're in a more denser population there.
Mhm.
So like if we can get listeners here to listen to them there, I mean, we're 9 times out of 10, nobody from here is going to go overseas to see these guys, but at least they get hits on YouTube, Spotify, all the all the good things where they can kind of get something out of it. If nothing else, they get a follow on their socials, or I mean, that's my thing. If I can get you 5 new followers on socials, I feel like, hey, I'm doing something. I mean, I'm doing my part. So
and that means so much to bands as they're getting started. I feel like one of the things that is a struggle, it's kind of weird, like technology is such a double-edged sword, because it's one of the things there's like, okay, the algorithm for whatever needs to favor you, but you could be the most badass band on the planet, but you might be doing everything right, but if and then it just sucks because what ends up permeating the scene is like people who just want to go viral, and it's just kind of like, you gotta, for us, Lightworker, we're not necessarily trying to reinvent the wheel or whatever. What we're just trying to do is write music and music that we like, and express ourselves into like, and make sure that for us, I think it's a little bit, my background is also like, before I got into heavy stuff, I really did like a lot of punk stuff. So I have a little bit of that punk ethos that remains with me. So it's kind of like, hey, I want to be more united about stuff and separated, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think it's really interesting to see how like Knocked Loose is now. I mean, they released a new album today, and they're taking the world by storm. They're a Coachella band, Lorna Shore, same thing. And I feel like metal kind of had a little bit of a dip for a while in the 2010s, but the 2020s has kind of like, 2020 itself aside, you kind of start seeing this pickup, right? And I think because even though 2020 is the year that shall not be named,
yeah.
I think kind of like that that time kind of made us all, or at least the ones that were super, kind of do some self-examination and realize, hey, this world is a fucked up place. But if I throw myself into some art, whether or expression, like and I think a lot of kids did that. I think a lot of people did that, and that's the reason why people are pissed right now. But they're realizing that music, and especially heavy music, is such a great way to let that all out. And I as shitty as 2020 was, like, I am thankful for those communities that did end up seeding because of that.
So that's what I think that's what we need to do. We just need to go over, send a couple of bands over to Ukraine and Russia, and have them go into a mosh pit. And the damn war will be over tomorrow,
Let them stop in Israel on the way over.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
That's how to.
Just give them a J and give them in a beer and heavy metal, and you're good.
That actually, I mean, that actually might be a decent prescription. Yes, I mean, it sure as hell couldn't hurt. I don't know if it's been tried yet. So I mean,
Yeah, well, why don't we try dropping those things?
right? Yeah.
Well, because there's no political gain to that. So.
Oh yeah.
Oh, see, there it is. Yeah.
You gotta throw the ugly P word in the stuff.
Yeah.
It fucks
Yeah.
everything up. So
It usually does. But
anyway,
I mean,
it's like I know you guys started in like 2012. So what was I guess you and Grayson and Ryan are the three that kind of started a band, or
Yeah. So the beginnings of the band were kind of funky. So it was me and my buddy Nick. Nick Loicono, shout out. He's one of my closest friends. I basically had a song left over that me and Ryan's old band did not track. And I thought I was pretty much done with music. I just wanted to get this last idea tracked, and then I was going to release it and just be like, whatever, I traded. I gave my friend Nick a bass because he knows how to record real well, and I don't know, that's not really my forte. And I was like, hey, if I give you this like bass that's worth X amount, will you record just a song? And he was like, yeah, that sounds like a fair trade. So gave him the bass. He demoed the song, and then we just started messing around and writing other stuff. And we started to get ideas, and we decided that we wanted as few people in the band because we wanted to make sure that the music that we wrote was what we liked between the two of us. And then if anybody else believed in it, they're going to want to try out, So instead of them trying to kind of like, there was like a specific vision. And I think that's been a consistent thing throughout all, through these years. Long story short, we recruited Ryan, who joined for all of like 3 months or something like that. And then he was like, hey, I'm moving to San Diego. So yeah, sorry. I got to focus on that. And we were just like, okay, cool. So technically he's an original member. We recorded this EP. And then after that, that's when we decided to handpick the rest of the guys. And then that's when Grayson joined. So he's also technically another original member. Then we went through a variety of lineup changes, but Ryan obviously came back. So all three of us are original members. And yeah, I think, very lucky to have, I guess the vast majority of the band. I mean, we're going to expand to 2 other dudes at some point, or 2 other people rather. But we as of now, I feel like the 3 of us, that's kind of the foundation, and we've kept going.
So that's going to lead me to my next question. And I don't, by all means, if you don't want to answer this in any sort of way, if it's like something unprofessional, just feel free. But they had Brad Green listed as your bass player. So what kind of happened with that?
Oh, Brad, he just has a really, really good job. So yeah,
no conflicts or anything there. I'm making 6 figures in this shit. Fuck yeah.
No, the only conflict was that we would tell him like, hey, I'm planning on touring in about 4 months, and he was like, I don't know if I can do it. And we're like, dude, that's a 4-month notice.
Right. Yeah.
So it was, that's really all it was. And it's funny because now he's in another band, and we just did a couple of dates with them, and they're great guys. And seeing the growth that he has actually done with his band called Red Keep has just been awesome. But yeah, so he was he was there during the Fury by Failure cycle, and then once we started to hit the road more often, he was just like, I don't know if I can do this, but
Mhm.
yeah, so that's kind of been the obstacle now. It's just like finding folks that are willing to grind. I think a lot of I've listened to interviews before with bands that I like, and all of them have said the consistent same thing. Whether it's like a band like Story of the Year, all the way to like Killswitch Engage. They just say like if you just keep pushing and keep dedicating your time to your craft and keep writing good music, like something's going to happen. You're not going to turn into like, Metallica, but you're at least going to get things going, and I think the folks that are in the band right now are the ones that kind of like we were just like, yeah, we don't know where this is heading, but like we're having fun doing it, so why would we stop?
And the funny thing you bring that up is I think if Metallica, if things were like this in the '80s, I don't think Metallica is as big as they are. I mean,
I
just to
agree.
be honest, because they back then you had a lot more publicity with things and a lot more people backing you with money. Where
Right.
now this people's not willing to do that, and you're having to depend on social media, which is most of the time free publicity, and then you're having to get your music onto like platforms like Spotify and Pandora, which you might as well be doing for free. But
Yep.
we won't go there. But which isn't fair. I don't agree with what they do. Don't get me wrong. That's about the only place you can pull stuff from. But to listen to anything new, unfortunately. But um, but you know, we're lucky to have that, I guess. But
Yeah.
still,
It's
it's
one of those.
I feel like even with like the radio broadcasting growing up, it's like we missed out on so much music because everybody wasn't on the radio. I mean, that's the thing is like you like that's probably why we never heard of some of these bands we were talking about earlier that we've been around for 40 years and we never heard of them because they didn't play them on our rock stations here. So,
Yeah,
so
and
if it wasn't Metallica or Megadeth or Panther, you didn't hear about it. So I mean, it's like,
and a band like Onslaught, even when the Headbangers Ball was around, I don't recall ever seeing
oh,
a video from Onslaught on there. So I mean, you know, it's one of those strange things because back in the early to mid '80s, there wasn't this massive pool of bands that we have now.
I
Mhm.
mean, yeah,
There's bands everywhere now, but at the same time, those bands had a hard time getting seen because they didn't have the technology we have now. So I
Right.
mean, literally, and the technology wasn't around for us to do podcasts like this 40 years ago, but there weren't tens of thousands of bands out there. But I mean, I may be over exaggerating on the number a little bit, but I mean, I don't really think so because I mean, because I'm talking about I'm talking about bands like you guys. I'm talking about bands like Metallica, Megadeth, Slipknot, and shit like that. But I mean, we got Ashes, Rain, and Eyes of the Living behind us too. These are a couple of our previous guests. I mean, there's these guys. They're out there doing their thing. All of the bands that we've talked to in Europe,
they lost
God knows, God knows how many bands are over in Europe that we don't know about.
right.
Even with the technology we have now, God knows how many were around then that couldn't even get a sniff of Headbangers Ball back in the '80s.
Oh yeah, like and it's crazy because and like back then, I mean, even studio time was just like really hard to get, and so it was. I mean, I don't know that there's that movie Airheads,
Oh
with
yeah, yeah. I
sneak,
love that
sneak
movie.
into a station, and that's how you got your big break. And even then, like some of the bands or artists that got the big break, I mean, truly, I mean, it was it's really weird. Like you see some bands, like one of my favorite bands from Scandinavia they're called X-Toll, and they basically did the foundation for this progressive death metal stuff, and only the people that were really in the know, are just like pretty much worship them. you know.
Yeah.
And then bands like the Faceless came out and whatnot, and then they blow up. You know, all these like progressive death metal bands blow up, and then you talk to them, and then they end up telling, you know, people that interview them, well, I mean, I'm just borrowing riffs from X Tool, and they're like, who the hell is that? And you're like, you don't know X Tool, like,
Yeah.
and it's kind of crazy how underrated they are. I mean, they still, people still haven't caught up, you know, and and it's just one of those things where anytime I get a chance to plug them, I do, because I'm just kind of like, dude, I mean, they're so influential. And it's funny because I guess one of the funny things I've noticed within the last few months is that I'm in a metalcore band, but I don't listen to a whole ton of it. Like, I'm very aware of it, you know, but a lot of the stuff that I listen to tends to be a little bit heavier. And it's kind of funny. Like, I think now that I think about it, I don't really think any of the guys in our band listen to a tremendous amount of metalcore. It's either really poppy stuff or like pretty abrasive shit.
And you bring that up at like underrated bands. I went to a show back in 2019. I was on a team where we went out and trained some people out in Texas at my job. And while we were out there was a Death Angel show. I was like, oh fuck, there's Death Angels in town. Let's go check that out. And my wife's like, oh, who is Death Angel? I was like, oh, you're gonna love this.
Yeah, you're gonna learn today.
That's right. We bought tickets on the spur of the moment and went down there, and there was a band called Hellfire that opened up.
Oh man,
you know, at the time I'm thinking, man, these guys are good, man. And then they just came out with an album a year or two ago called The Reckoning. And
they're from San Francisco, aren't they?
Believe so.
They're from out there somewhere.
Yeah, actually, they are from San Francisco.
San Francisco.
Yeah. So the guitarist there, Tony Campos, man, he is so fucking good, so underrated. Dude. Like he does these damn takeoffs in the beginnings of some of these songs. I'm like, holy shit, dude! Like it's like some 80s Dave Mustaine type shit, dude. I'm just like, how guy's not more fucking popular? I don't understand. Like I really don't.
Yeah, they've got there's what I like about them is they have like a triple guitar attack,
right?
And they let each of the guitar players have a solo on just about every song. One of them leads in, and then it just boom, boom, boom. I don't know if they probably don't go in the same sequence every time, but I mean, you can hear the differences between the three guys. But I just love how powerful that creates, because I mean, you know, Iron Maiden, they got Iron Maiden and Judas Priest. They basically invented the twin guitar attack, but then like Hellfire, they got like this, you know, triumvirate of these guys who just obliterate it. And it, like Jason says, it is actually kind of crazy that they're not as popular as they are, but who knows why that is. But yeah, we're both fans.
I think Tony takes most of the reins on the guitar. I know, like Jake, the vocalist, he does a little bit of guitar work too, but it's not the lead. I think Tony's more the lead.
But I mean, hell, Jake is phenomenally underrated singer too.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah. No, it's one of the things. So the guitarist from Death Angel, he would come into the record store I used to work at, like from time to time. So we even actually, before I worked there, my old boss, because it's a mom and pop record store, they even had Steve Harris come in.
Nice.
And they were like, he was like, you know, he's just working. He was just like, man, this guy looks familiar, you know. But I mean,
he looks familiar.
And then he rings him up and he hands him his credit card, and he's just like, and he reads out loud, Steve Harris. Steve Harris?
Yeah, Steve Harris? Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so.
One and the same.
Yep. And you know, in the Bay Area, we get some unique people coming that came through. We had a backup singer for James Brown that came through also. A percussionist that's done stuff with a lot of top 40 stuff. It was really cool. But going back to the guitar stuff, want to know something funny about our guitar player Grayson? is so in our songs we have the occasional guitar solo, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's because I literally, I don't want to say force him, but I kind of force him. Because I mean, like, he loves playing rhythm. That's his bread and butter. Like, but he's such a good lead guitar player. And I always tried to push him, like, dude, I really think that, I mean, one of the things that's really cool about Grayson is that he is a dude that I guess almost kind of like a typical metalhead, doesn't talk about his feelings a lot, but his playing is so expressive. And he could hear a progression, and then he's just like, "Ooh!" He just like sinks into the part, and it's almost as if like, the playing kind of almost speaks for him emotionally in a sense.
Sure.
And then while also, giving me a nod while he's playing, because he knows I prefer like fast, riffy stuff, and he's more of a groove guy, So I think that's kind of the interesting dichotomy of what we have going on in Lightworker is like, I can play guitar and I contribute to some of the guitar ideas that we have, but ultimately he's like, the guitarist. And but you guys should join me in being like, hey dude, like, bust out another solo here and there,
Let me go back and tell you, like, I'll go back to my review of this album, and one of the first things I noticed was the transitioning between the cleans and screams that you do, and I thought that was really well done. Right after I said that, I said there was some brutal guitar licks on this record, and I guess that's exactly where you're coming from. So if you hadn't never told me that, I would have never thought he was like an easy peasy rhythm guy, because I mean, he was really like laying some shit down on this record. I was like, man. But it was a good shot, and I will say this: like the drumming and the guitar work itself. One of the things that I noticed too were really well timed with the vocals going pitchy, saying up and down like that. And I think if you listen to a lot of records like that do that, a lot of the instrumental stuff don't follow, if that makes any sense. I think a lot of it kind of it'll like level out, but it never like goes with the frequency up and down as the vocals do. And like it was really well matched, I thought, with the way that it was recorded. So
thank you. And that was one of the things that was kind of interesting about, like, I guess going back in a little bit of Lightworker's history was when we recorded the first album. While we were tracking it, I realized that the way that I was screaming was not going to be sustainable for life on the road. So, the last thing any vocalist wants is to go up there, play one awesome show, and the next day, you can't even talk. So I had to, during the process of recording the record, I had to I was relearning how to scream. And so, and so a good chunk of the screams off of that first record was our former lead guitar player, Drew, who's a great guy. Love that dude. And, but this record, I think one of the biggest differences between Fury by Failure and then How the Beautiful Decay was that I started to come into my own with the screaming stuff, and I'm still learning about it. I'm still a student. And Grayson actually does a good chunk of the screaming too. Kind of funny because you could hear once you, like, people have said that once they see us live, they can tell who it is on the recording that's actually screaming, because it's that distinct of a difference. And actually in the music videos, the parts where you see him kind of like mouthing the words, like those are actually his screaming parts. So because a lot of the times in music videos, it's just like, oh, they're just like, pumped with the lyrics or whatever.
Right.
But those are actually like his parts. And I think that's one of the things that also has, and it lends itself, I think, to the fact that, I was a bass player, and I actually, contrary to popular belief when it comes to lead vocalists, I actually do carry gear in and out of the venue. So I mean, to me, I mean, I recognize that my job is to be the vocalist of the band, but to me, I'm just kind of like, dude, if Grayson's scream is more suited to the part, fuck it, let him do it. You know what I mean? It's and even on the last song on the record, I to be frank with you guys, like it was a real emotional process of writing this record, and I think that's part of the reason why we're really proud of it, because we really bared our souls, both musically, lyrically, everything, man. Like, we threw the kitchen sink at this, and there were some real dark times during the recording of this record too, to the point where Grayson and I were in such a personal bad headspace that I actually, obviously after permission from his fiance, I actually moved in with them for about a week or so, because we were just like, hey, we don't know where we're going to be at mentally. So but we need to finish this record. So if we wake up one day and after work, you're just like, I can't do it because I'm in such a bad place, then we won't do it. But it's okay, because I'm already there and we can just jump in whenever you do feel well, And so throughout the process of it, when we tracked the final song for the record, which is How the Beautiful Decay, which is the title track, the final track, we were still going through stuff, and Grayson in particular. So I was like, hey, man, I want you to help me write some of the lyrics to the second verse, because I want you to be able to express yourself. And I also want you to sing these parts, because I want you to leave everything you got out there on the table. Because to me, it was more important that my friend got a chance to express himself and to not keep his demons inside his head than it was to fucking satiate any kind of ego I might have. You know what I mean? And I think that was the one of the huge things about this record. And as we begin to tour this album too, is that the three of us, I think, are closer than ever. We've yelled at each other. We've hugged each other. Joked around with each other, put up with each other's farts, it's just one of those things now where it's just like, and it's actually kind of funny. I take that back. Our merch girl, she was like, you guys are really interesting. You guys don't yell at each other when you guys don't argue. You guys will be passionate, but you guys, like, your voices never raise. She was like, it's like the most mature shit I've ever seen in my life. But I mean,
that's the difference between a band in their 30s and a band in their teens. So
right.
But
it does sound like you guys have one hell of a dynamic, because I mean, we talked to bands before, and everyone's like, oh yeah, well, we get along and we have a good rapport and everything. But I mean, to be able for like you said, you as the singer, you're like, dude, help me sing on this. And then you have input with your history as a guitar player, bass player, whatever. I mean, so you're able to cross collaborate. Not only are you like, okay, okay, Grayson, I like the way that sounds. That's great. Let's put some vocals to it. You're like, all right, this is your part. Own this part. And I'm going to take a step back for a second and let you have this part. I don't remember us too often hearing of a band with quite that dynamic. Of course, all bands that have any sort of longevity, I mean, they have, they have a dynamic, and they have a kinship and all that stuff. And everybody who's in any group that spends any time together, obviously you're going to get pissed at each other eventually, and threaten to kick each other's asses. But because I mean, that's you basically become a de facto family, and we all know that families have those instances where families fight. But to be able to, like, for Grayson to be like, dude, is Grayson's whole thing about not really wanting to be up front? Because you said you basically are forcing him to come to the front and be the guy who lays the solos down. Is that just because he's just that egoless? I mean, he sounds like he's got like zero ego at all. I mean, he wants to contribute, but it's like, let somebody else do the solos. Because I mean, you guys don't have anybody else. But I mean, so I mean, it's just one of those things. I'll do it because I kind of am the only option. But I mean, because it's like to because he totally seems like selfless.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of like one of the things about this band that has been interesting. I think we've all been in bands, the three of us, particularly me and Grayson, because this is the second band he's ever been a part of, and the other band was with me. So,
Okay, all right.
So two bands total. But Grayson and I have both been in bands where, you know, there are dudes who are just like, man, I might get in trouble for saying this, but hey, whatever. But me and his old band, the guitar player didn't let him solo. And I was always the one when I was in that band. I was always like, dude, Grayson, you got it, man. Because I mean, you can riff, dude. Like you can, and I think it's gotten to the point where it's just kind of like we just really encourage each other. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things where it's just kind of like I genuinely have love for my brother. Like I want to see him happy, and vice versa. And and it's funny because the dynamic that we have with just the three of us, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens once we actually get another member or two. But it's quite literally like brothers. Like we've got the oldest child, the old fart, which is me, and then and I also have a lot of patience with the baby. And then we got the middle child, which is Grayson, who's like and then we've got Ryan, who's he's just kind of like, oh hey, I'm just happy to be here, and and there's a lot of trust between the three of us, and I would say that the reason why we're each able to step back and Grayson, like whether it's me saying like, hey Grayson, sing on this part real quick or scream on this part, or he's like, that guitar riff is sick, I'm gonna use it, if I wrote it, because we trust each other. We trust the dynamic, and at the end of the day, we don't care who wrote what. The main goal is to get out there and have fun, and for me, I think we all, the three of us each have like slightly different goals, as to what we want out of the band. But for me personally, I could say my goal is to just interact with people and just have a good time and hear their stories. Touring, I've met a variety of people, and anytime that somebody has told me that like, hey, I read the lyrics, or they talk to me about it, like I walk away with my cup filled. I'm like, this is awesome, dude. Like the fact that there's, as you were mentioning earlier, there's millions of bands out there. We don't need another metalcore band, right? You know what I mean? Like, but for whatever reasons, folks decided to listen to us, and I don't take that lightly, and I never will.
Now, as somebody who writes, the songs, talking about interacting with fans, and they read the lyrics, what kind of gets to you more, of course in a good way? What makes you happy of the two, when someone reads the lyrics and kind of picks up exactly what you're laying down, or when they glean something of their own from what you wrote?
I like them both equally, because the thing is that one of my favorite things that ever happened when I was writing lyrics, and this is before we were signed, it was actually the song that we debuted as a band, our very first song. It's not the oldest song, but it's just the oldest song out in public, right? I was writing the lyrics, and I didn't even really know what they were about. I was just getting it all out, and we were in the middle of tracking it. And the guitarist at the time looks at me, and he was all like, hey man, like, is this about you growing up without a father? And I was like, holy shit, I guess it is. You know, and it was just kind of one of those things where like, I feel like when people interpret it on their own, they're kind of revealing something about those words that I didn't know. And I think that's a very special connection, and I would never want to ruin that for anybody, you know. And then
it's kind of writing that unconsciously, I guess. So.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's times where, I mean, I'm just like, I know what I'm talking about, and I mean that shit, you know.
Like, sure, yeah.
But and it's funny because and then some people really zoom in on like, for example, our second single, Burn Scar. I wrote the whole song about how basically the social divide in, you know, that we've seen the last 3.5-4 years, you know, and particularly in the West, you know, America and whatnot. And a lot of it, you know, unfortunately is like, you know, just it's just folks not practicing what they preach, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, because here's the thing, at the end of the day, I'm friends with everybody, man. If you're cool, you're cool, and we don't need to see eye to eye on everything. Nobody will. And, you know, but the moment that it becomes visceral and volatile, I'm not on board. And, you know, there was a lyric in there where, you know, I personally am a man of faith, you know, like, we're not a Christian band or whatever. And I'm sure a lot of folks would not consider me a Christian that are Christian. If anything, they'll probably, you know, like, they're probably like doing, you know, in front of me, but
sure.
But but it's like, who better to call out like hypocrisy than one of your own? And in the song, you know, it builds up in the breakdown and it says hypocrisy in the shape of a cross. And one of the guys, or one of the comments that I saw on our YouTube was all like, is this guy trying to be cool or something? Is he trying to be edgy? I'm like, no, that's exactly what it is, man. Like, you know, I mean, if you're gonna talk about, like, you know, love and stuff like that, then, you know, like, hey, you know, show a little compassion then, because you don't know somebody else's walk in their life. And especially if they don't believe the same as you do, whether it's politics, religion, whatever, especially if somebody doesn't see eye to eye with you, you're kind of that representative of the other side, so to speak. So you better treat them with respect, because otherwise, how are you going to show them, like, hey, this is what I think? There's no progress without it.
Well, and you can't really prove your point that your viewpoint might be quote unquote better when you're not adhering to the doctrine that your side is supposedly championing. So there are times, and I'm sure it's in all religions. I'm sure it's in all religions. But, you know, talking about Christianity specifically, there's been quite a few times where I have found that the level of devoutness can be commensurate with the amount of hypocrisy.
Absolutely, man. And
so it's like you can't have it both ways, you know. So
it's funny, like, this came up because I just had this conversation with a wrestling buddy of mine this week, and it kind of came up, and I said, let me tell you something, man. Don't let those people bother you, because I will tell you this: I was raised in church. I went to church. You know, the same guy that married us, baptized us, saved our kids. I mean, we've been involved with this church for a long time. They did our preacher dirty, and then we kind of walked away. But I told him straight up, I said, man, don't listen to that stuff, because let me tell you something. I've met more people in a bar with better religious views than the people sitting in church pews.
Yep.
I said, because they're, to me, like, the people that sit there and you look at every Sunday are the people that are more judgmental of your life than anybody that you know.
And probably should be there asking for forgiveness.
Right. Yeah, they should be the ones going to the altar, not looking at you going, I wonder if this guy's going up. I seen him drunk the other night. Like, I mean, it's like
so let me tell you guys something. So when we got signed, you know, and Fury by Failure came out, I got personal messages on my personal Instagram asking where we where we stood up when it came to that stuff. And you know, I'm honest. I'm not gonna lie to anybody. You know, and I was just like, yeah, we're not a Christian band or anything like that. I personally have some faith. The other guys are comfortable with me saying this, but you know they don't. So like, and it's not really a thought for them. And they were like, well then, and then people would literally tell me like, well then you got to get rid of them. And I was like, wait, what? Like, you're telling me that these guys who have transformed my life for the better, not only by being in the band and doing this with me, but doing countless other things that you as a stranger don't even know. Like, you're like, no, dude, like that's not how you go about things. And 3 of the songs off of How the Beautiful Decay really talk about that and wrestle with you know, like that kind of pride and hypocrisy. And here's the thing, I ain't shit. I'll be the first man. Like, but what I do know though is that like when you treat people with love and respect, kind of the same way you would in the pit, right? Like, I mean, dude, that's when progress happens. You know, and that's all that matters to me is just like, yo, at the end of the day, as long as you know people aren't hurting each other, then like, cool, man. If you are Team Xbox and I'm Team PlayStation, it's all good. We're both gonna have fun.
Right? Yeah. That's always one thing that's kind of bugged me because we've mentioned it already a couple times on the show. You know, you're in a venue and you're crammed together with a couple hundred, couple thousand people you've never seen before. Odds are you'll never see again. And you know, whether you're in the pit directly or you know you're on the periphery, making sure keeping it whatever. You're working your way up to the front, you're working your way to the back to the bathroom, you're working your way to the merch tent or to the concession stand to get a drink. Where you bump into somebody, what happens? You're like, oh, my bad, dude. No problem. Why the hell can't that translate outside the venue? It's like, you know, you watch a comedian. Like if it doesn't really matter. Like we were watching Cat Williams' new special last night. So he always talks about, you know, having white friends. And then Bill Burr, you know, he talks about it in some of his specials, but it gets brought up a lot in comedy specials about look at us all together. You know, there's white people, there's black people, there's, you know, Latin people, everyone coming together for an event, whether it's a comedy show, a metal show, you know, a hockey game, a football game, whatever. Why the hell does all that camaraderie go out the window when you leave a venue? That has always annoyed the shit out of me. I don't understand it.
Yep.
I'm originally from Ann Arbor, Michigan, and you know, so that's where U of M is, and you know, everyone who's any sort of sports fan knows about the Big House. That place gets 115,000 people in there on a Saturday. You're in there with 114,999 people you don't know, and you're there for the same reason. And then you leave that place and you head out on the street and someone steps on your shoe or you step on their shoe and they want to kick the shit out of you. It's like, where the hell does it all go wrong when you're leaving I don't understand it. I probably never will. I just don't get it.
With Chris bringing that up, we'll just let you guys know he is a Michigan Blue fan. Has always been that way. I am an Notre Dame Irish fan, so if we two can get along and do a podcast, hey, there's hope, man. Like,
exactly,
yeah.
No, man, and see, and this is what I love. See, the only thing that's missing in this conversation right now is a nice tall boy. You know, like this is quite literally like my favorite thing to do, and I love the fact that we're not just talking about metal; we're talking about substance because, I mean. At the end of the day, like, I mean, that's what I and for what I bring to Lightworker, that's what Lightworker exists for, is to talk about, and that's part of the reason why we have our name. A lot of people thought that like, oh, it's that New Age movement, and it's like, no, I didn't even know what that was. and it's definitely no offense to those folks, like it's, you know, like do your thing, but for me, it was just kind of more of a like, hey, we're playing like some heavy music, and some of the lyrics are really raw, but I really hope that people come away with it with a glimmer of brightness. Like even though this is a sick breakdown, sick riff, or a sick mosh call or something like that, it's just like at the end of the day, like if we could make you feel happy from that, or agreeing with the lyrics, or maybe even disagreeing with the lyrics. I've had some great conversations with folks who've been very respectful and have actually inquired about the lyrics, and that's what it's about, man. Like, I absolutely love it. That's the reason for my slice of Lightworker. That's why we exist. So
I'm gonna go out and do a Confucius saying right now. So, from substance comes inspiration. So, there you go. I'm gonna go like the cornbread metalhead. I'm just gonna do like a little inspirational quotes on our TikToks now.
Well, it's kind of funny because we get the kill switch comparison a lot, which is a huge compliment. And I get the Howard Jones vocals, like comparison a lot. And I love Howard Jones, and I love the records he did. But the guy that actually influenced me the most at my very roots was actually Jesse, because a lot of the lyrics that he talks about is just about the like uniting and being good to each other and whatnot, which is at the time in the late 90s, early 2000s, that was such a stark difference from what else was going on in metal. You know what I mean? And I think that's part of the reason that they became as successful as they have been. And now out of the big four, they're the number one, in my opinion, like of the big four of the metalcore bands, and they've made an everlasting impact on it. I mean, to the point where my ass, like 20 years later, I'm still as jaded as I get as I'm older. I'm just like, dude, we can't forget these important lessons.
Didn't we just talk about that last week? The top big four new metal bands or metal.
Yeah, it was new metal. We talked about new metal because there was an article. I can't remember what publication we were talking about now.
It was from Loudwire. Loudwire is usually the one that does all those.
Yeah, I think it was, but yeah, that's who we were talking about. We were talking about new metal, not metalcore, but I mean, if we want to broach that topic, because I mean, we talked about it once when you were talking about that article about the 17 subgenres. But we did talk about it before. But I mean, if you're talking about the Mount Rushmore of metalcore, there's no way in hell that Killswitch Engage is not on it.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
No.
It doesn't. To me, it doesn't matter if it's like 1 or 4. But I mean, if you're talking about that Mount Rushmore, they're up there, no doubt. Killswitch Engage is up there, no doubt.
Oh yeah,
they absolutely are.
Who do you guys think for metalcore? Who do you guys think are those 4 bands?
Oh Christ! Well, the funny thing is Jason would have an easier time answering this than I would.
I mean,
and it's still a loaded question, but God,
I think with no doubt, Killswitch Engage.
Yeah, they're absolutely on there.
I mean, for me, Bullet for My Valentine would probably be there. As much as I hate that they are categorized there, I mean, Trivium. I mean, I don't really consider Trivium metalcore personally, but I mean, they are categorized there.
I don't think they are anymore. In the Ascendancy days, and maybe right up until about Shogun,
right.
I would say maybe they were, and then.
I mean, if you're going back that far, I mean, you obviously have to have As I Lay Dying or all that remains. Those type, those 2 bands will probably be in the talks. I mean, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Killswitch without a doubt would probably.
Killswitch without question is on there because they. I mean, with as much as Korn was basically the godfather in nu metal, I would say you would have to make a case for Killswitch almost being the progenitor of that subgenre.
Yeah.
Wow.
Probably pretty damn close, I would say. So I would almost
And I mean,
give them
if,
credit.
and then honestly, if Shadows Fall started that way, they would probably be on the tops. But they didn't start as one,
No, they did. No,
and
they did
they
not.
later became a metalcore band. But
Yeah, when they kind of matured into it. Yeah,
mhm.
but
Yeah, if they'd have started that way, they'd definitely be right there. I'd say one Kill Switch, two Shadows Fall, if they would have been there the whole time. But
I would say, I mean, Murky past aside, Aslay Dying is definitely in there, even though
yeah,
they're kind of,
they have to be. I mean,
yeah, it's, I mean, Kill Switch, I agree with Bullet for My Valentine. And because of the fact that they also brought it, they largely brought it even further into the mainstream than Kill Switch did, I would say.
I can actually agree with that. I can agree with that.
Yeah. And then and Trivium is an interesting band because I feel like every other record they kind of switched identities for a little bit.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And which I actually really admire them for. And they just kept like, like pushing the limits. But so I mean I would say Trivium is in the conversation. I don't know if they would end up in the final four.
it's like me because I don't think they're like you were saying. I don't think they're metalcore through and through. I guess.
Yeah, no, no.
So,
Because I mean they have evolved and matured so much, because I mean hell, Matt Heafy when they first started out, I mean he was a screamer who sprinkled in cleans. Now he's a clean singer who sprinkles in screams, which is fine because if he's kind of like adjusting for his vocal longevity, you kind of get it, especially with the ferocity that he was singing with in those on those early albums. I mean, he was absolutely belting it out. So, whether it's just a natural evolution or maturation or something he was just, looking forward to, like, all right, I want to, keep this thing going. I want to make sure I don't blow my throat out or whatever. Whatever it was, for them it worked because
Right.
I mean, I think Trivium gets better every album. I absolutely love Trivium from like the start all
and,
the way up to now.
and we talk about it a lot. We also hate like double genre in a band because it's like, like if you look up Lamb of God right now, let's see.
Lamb of God's groove metal.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, but if you look it up, it says groove metal / metalcore, which Lamb of God is not a metalcore band.
No.
it's really funny to me that like a band like it's funny to me that Kill Switch is metalcore, but at the same token, a band like Bad Omens is also considered metalcore. It's very interesting to me, and it's no disrespect to anybody, but it's just kind of like it's funny how like I mean I'm convinced, and tell me if you guys agree with me on this, but I'm convinced that Pantera could debut right now, and people would call them metalcore just because they had like the grooves and then they had the breakdowns
I don't know.
and
You
they
think,
had
you think there'd be more groove metal though? I don't know.
Well, that's the thing is Pantera. Pantera 2.0. Pantera, the modern era of Pantera is absolutely groove metal. But I don't disagree with you that if they came out right
No,
now, that I don't disagree that they would be put in just because of. I think mainly just because of probably just because of Phil Anselmo's vocal style, which I think is unfair, but I don't think it would be an uncharacteristic place to label them. Of course, to us it's not accurate, but I agree with your assessment. I do.
that's what I'm
Actually.
saying. It's like to me, it's I mean, dude, they're the kings of groove metal. You know what I mean? Like they're the
Mhm.
absolute kings. And also like as far as like and also implementing that Southern fried, like riffage. Like I mean, it's I mean that's kind of like to me that's a part of like groove metal and but it's so interesting to me that like that I'm like I said, I'm convinced if those guys started right now and they were to come out, I'm sure like some asshole would call them that, and then they would be labeled that, and it which is, you know, and I mean it's not necessarily subgenres help, you know, people
Yeah,
figure
they do.
stuff out.
But it's kind of like you're saying, you know, like when these publications put this out, like, oh, we're going to give you the top 25 metalcore bands, and they would say, oh, well, you know, Metallica's on there. Like, what the fuck? Like, what do you mean Metallica?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah, that's an extreme example, of course.
no,
But yeah, but you are right. You are right.
There'll always be somebody on there. You're just like, what the fuck? What do you mean? Like, there's no
Yeah.
fucking way. Like, you know, I mean,
Like-
now that you brought up groove metal, it kind of got me thinking. Okay, what would be my top 4 groove metal bands? I guess it would have to be Pantera, Lamb of God,
Machine Head.
Machine Head,
Which is
And-
funny because Machine Head
and probably
they-
Devil Driver.
immensely too.
What's that?
Oh, Machine Head has changed immensely too.
Oh,
Oh,
they
yeah.
absolutely
They're-
have.
they're labeled like
absolutely have.
Groove and
Yeah,
they're-
dude.
they're
Well,
labeled
hell,
like-
they were. Well, hell, they were. I mean, they were borderline like rap metal for a while there on a couple
Yeah.
of those albums.
so that would
Yep.
be basically.
So I mean,
Yeah.
but I mean, hell, my dark horse for group were my dark horse for big 4 of groove metal would be Exhorter.
yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Real quick, back to metalcore. Actually, a band that I feel like deserves a spot on there, but they just never got their due, in my opinion, would actually be Darkest Hour.
Ah,
Reason
I
being
can see that.
because they've been around since '95.
mhm.
They were one of the first bands to implement the Gothenburg sound, you know, the Swedish
Oh yeah.
metal stuff. But they also did breakdowns, but they did them in a unique way than the rest of the other bands did. And they also were just a part of that scene as well. They just never, you know, made it kind of like, you know, Shadows Fall, never made it past that next hump, you know.
Mhm.
And but I would say this might be sacrilege to some people, but I would say that Darkest Hour had this. To me, they had a little bit more of a hybrid sound going on, which to me kind of set them apart from a lot of the East Coast, New England kind of metalcore stuff. And to me, that's kind of like, because I mean, if you think about it, like Killswitch, okay, the New England sound is solidified there. If we want, and then we've got As I Lay Dying, which takes care of the SoCal sound, you know, and then Bullet for My Valentine is kind of like the more, I mean, the international, right?
Yep. They're
And
from
then-
Wales.
And then you know, Darkest Hour, DC, you know, it's kind of like, okay, you know, I mean,
You got
And,
your-
well, I mean, and Shadows Falls from Massachusetts, so I mean, they're right up there in the northeastern region too. So
exactly, yeah. So I mean, but yeah, to me, Darkest Hour is just one of those bands that by the way, one of the I ever saw them live, they were opening for Killswitch, and they were all so drunk, but they were playing so well. And it was so funny because their vocalist, John Henry, he just screams into the mic. He's like, all right, motherfuckers, let's go. And he was like windmilling so hard and he was drunk that he like stumbled a couple of times and he caught himself on a bass cabinet. And then he was just like, whoa. And he just kept windmilling. And it was just like one of my favorite things that I've ever seen.
nice.
we got a Rose story from another band.
Yeah, we did.
Which kind of like, so I'm gonna like reel us back just a minute because I think we got ahead of ourselves when I was getting the lowdown on the band. Like, so where did the name Lightworker? How did that and what kind of inspired that name?
So it was the name of an album from a band called Yesterday's Rising. That was like back then they were just they only ever released like a various EPs and then one full length and then they broke up. But I like their sound. It was kind of like to me, kind of like they had like the Incubus lead like an Incubus sounding lead vocalist who could scream.
Mm.
And you know, a little higher pitched, but that's kind of like the vibe I kind of got from them. and I thought they were really cool. And that was the name of the album. And when we were threatened with a lawsuit from our original band name, so we were just like, dude, we got to pick a name, dude. And there was just a bunch of we had I think like maybe 5 or 6 different names, and all of them sounded like we would be a death metal band, you know. and and Grayson kind of like, August Burns Red has that shirt that says "Angry Music for Happy People." That's
Yeah.
that's Grayson to a T. Like that's like one of the most like he's just always like smiling and such a contagious like happy dude. And so like when Lightworker was on there, he's like, "That's sick," and I'm like, "Of course." I mean, you're kind of that spark. That's kind of and I was like, and coupled with what the lyrics are about and whatnot, and it just made sense. And then after we decided on the name is when we found out that it was like some sort of new age movement.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, and we were just like, whatever. So
and see, if we never talked to you, I've just been like, they probably got that from one of their dads was an electrical journeyman or something. But that is cool. A lot of bands, I think, do that though, is they kind of like look back and think, well, that's an odd album, and nobody probably knows that album, so let's just use our band name as that. And we know how hard it is with band names nowadays, anyway, because there's so many people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's so many rights and stuff that you can use. I mean, so it seems like every time I'll pick up a weekly release, there's a right, something right, worm rot or jungle rot or something rot on there every week, something like
Rotten Christ, yeah.
You can only rot so far, and then you're nothing. So
yeah,
exactly. So
that's a pretty cool way to. So I guess you can't say what your former name was. Or?
Oh no, I can. Yeah, we were called Red Skies.
Oh, okay.
And the reason why I really liked that name was because it was ambiguous.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those things where it was like, hey, and not only that, I really like the fact that that saying for sailors was it kind of alluded to a storm, but at the same time it was just I forget the exact limerick or rhyme or whatever, but it says red skies at night, sailors light, red skies at dawn, sailors be warned, or something like that. And to me, we've always had a lot of like clean guitar parts and a lot of singing, but there's also the heavier parts which could mimic the the heavier storm and so that's the reason why I really like that name to begin with. But there was another band that already had it, and it was a bummer because they were broken up too. They hadn't been a band in a few years, and they were like, "Well, we'll license it out to you." And we're like, "Dude, no, I'm not trying to pay you just to no."
Right? Yeah.
That's the only reason they said something.
Yeah, I mean,
money for nothing. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's good that you weren't, married to it so hard where you felt like you had to be painted into a corner like that. So it's like, nah, screw it. We'll just call ourselves something else.
Well, I mean, it's not like you made 2 albums that's burned the priest and it's like, oh, you can't do that anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. That's true.
So a lot of people don't even remember Lamb of God being called that. I said that a few times. And they're like, ooh, I'm like, oh,
right, yeah. It's slowly but surely becoming an answer to a trivia question as the years go by.
Yeah, and then Light the Torch was the same way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can't remember what their
the devil
Devil
you know. Yeah, there you go. And they had a whole album with that name, and then all of a sudden it wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
Why do you guys let these people make album or 2 albums in and then complain about it? Like,
well, it's like
it's like pull Ozzy and just go out there and protest against your own band.
Yeah. Oh God. Well, it's kind of like the same thing Devil Driver has to deal with. Like, not maybe so much now because they've been together for 20 some odd years, but like when they first came out, they came out with the name, and people were like, oh, so you guys like worship the devil's like, no, you do realize that like driving the devil away means kind of casting him aside. It's like you do realize that just because there's the word devil in it doesn't mean we're championing it. So, you know, I mean, hell, Stryper had to deal with the same thing on one of their last albums. They had one of the tracks was "Goddamn the Devil,"
Yeah.
and people were like, "You're swearing." It's like, no, it's like, do you not get what we're trying to say? It's, I mean, you know, it's like just because the word devil is in something, I mean, it's not inherently satanic, and just some people just can't get past it. So I mean, it's like,
kind of glad we circled back to Stryper, because I was going to say earlier when we were talking about the religious thing, if you ask Metalheads Unite where our religious stance is, we're just going to give you a email, and it's michaelsweet@gmail.com. You can email him, and he handles all of our religious.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things where it's just kind of like, again, just respecting all walks of life, and so, I mean, it was funny because for a while we even had like a dude that dabbled in Satanism that was filling in on guitar for us. So, it's just one of those things where, my job, and I think for human beings also, it's just to try to interact with each other in a mature and loving manner. You know what I mean? Because I don't know anybody else's story, and the moment that I start like parading something over them, it's like I'm assuming that I know something about them when in fact I don't.
Right.
That's actually a very great way to look at it. It absolutely is.
And a disclaimer: I pray to God that is not Michael Sweet's actual email address, because
we can neither confirm nor deny that is his email address.
Yeah,
he'll be in ours and be like, "Oh shit, we got a damn message from Michael Sweet, cool." And he'd be like, "Hey, you motherfuckers, giving out my
and if we got Michael Sweet to actually say motherfucker, we would be in trouble. We will.
That is true. That is true.
That's like your parents saying your first, middle, and last name when you get in trouble as your kid. It's like, oh shit, I got all three names.
Everybody show up at our door or send a picture going, "You know what this is," and have the Lance of Michael or something with
him. You know what's funny though was when I told this one dude, that Tom Araya is a practicing Catholic, and he.
Right.
And he was just like, I do not believe that. I do not care what you say. I even showed him an interview where he said that, and he was like, he's lying. He's lying. Like,
yeah, Tom Araya even said, "It's like, hey, if I can sell 100,000 albums by putting a pentagram on it, by God, there's going to be a pentagram on it." So I mean, like, hey man, you do what it's called marketing, dude. It's like you market something based on what people want or how people see you. So people see you that way. So he just took what people seen him as and then rode with it and made money off of it. Like,
right. Yeah.
I mean, that's America.
Spaceballs the flamethrower.
Yeah, right. I mean,
merchandising.
Yep. But like I said, it's the same. It's the same way as you sell T-shirts that way. If somebody come out and said, "Oh well, Metalheads Unite is satanic," well then I'm gonna start putting devils on everything. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. Don't say it, because I'll put devils on everything.
I'll pay for this shit somehow.
Yeah, and I'll have hidden stuff in my pictures, like a cross around my neck or something, just so you know that you're full of shit and you caused this. So I take pictures with my shirt on and a Bible in my hand, or
Exactly. Which one is it?
Yeah, you figure it out. Yeah, the dichotomy of good and evil.
You want to be a smart ass? You know everything. Here you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
Maybe wear a yarmulke and a robe and carry a pitchfork in one hand and a James King James Bible on the other. And
oof, boy, I mean, piss everybody off while you're at
it. I want no friends.
Yeah, no, I mean yeah. Well, the internet know-it-alls out there. They're gonna tell you things about you that you don't even know.
Like,
It's just like when people get married. It's like when we got married or whatever. I made the joke to my wife. I said, "It's not fair that you get to wear white and I don't." I mean, I was like, people think I'm the whore in this relationship now because I don't get to wear white. You know?
I demand equality.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. Damn right. Equal representation.
Absolutely.
So get back a little bit. I didn't like when you brought this up earlier. I've been listening to the first album a little bit more today because when we do the album reviews, we do give it like 2-3 listens before we actually make a distinct, because sometimes I feel like you hear stuff, and I've said this on the show before. I was like, man, I want to go back and listen to it because maybe there's something there that I didn't catch the first couple of times that may grow on me at some point.
Sure, absolutely.
And just like Chris has a song that we were talking about, the Bullet for My Valentine album. He don't like Rainbow Veins. I love that song, but it's just that's just the way people hear things, and that's a good thing about music. Music touches people in different ways, and sometimes the musicians do too. But anyway, comment relief. Sorry. What is Kevin Hart said on the show? You got to start getting uncomfortable to feel comfortable here, guys. Let's go.
The roast from this past weekend. Oh God,
that was actually pretty good.
So good. Oh, it was so good.
Oh, the Tom Brady one.
Yeah, it was so good.
I gotta check that out.
It was great.
Yeah. And actually, Jeff Roth got in trouble. But that was actually even funnier. So he said something he wasn't supposed to. So
well,
that's why Tom Brady went and said, "Cut that shit out."
Yeah, he said, "Don't say that shit again."
He was serious. He was gonna cut the damn special off right there. I was like, wow. Anyway, but yeah, I was talking about you. You guys were talking about. I was listening to the first album today, and I could hear where you were talking about. You guys kind of got a little more mature with the writing and playing and stuff. And I feel like when we grew up, you know what I mean? You had like Skid Row came out with their debut album, and then you're thinking they're not going to be able to top this shit. You know what I mean? Like, and then of course, the Grind came out, and it was even harder.
Mm-hmm.
I think Skid Row was probably one of the harder hair metal bands.
Yeah,
but glam, whatever they call that shit. But I think there's a lot of bands in that era that got lost in that shuffle that were true heavy metal bands. Which is sad, and that's kind of why I feel like we do this too, is because we don't want anybody left out of being able to do what they want to do with their life. Like I said, we love music and we love hearing different genres of music. Both metal. I don't listen to nothing outside of metal. I mean, I probably should sometimes, but it's just not. It's just not like when I grew up in the '80s. Yes, I listened to country because country was country then. You know what I mean? And then rap.
I like that quote.
Yeah,
you should make that into a sticker.
Yeah, country was country.
Yeah.
You remember back then when country was country? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how old I am, buddy.
Yeah, country music was still country music back
then. And then
then.
rap was rap. I mean, you had Ice Cube and Dr. Dre and all those Snoop and all those guys that actually rap. And nowadays it's just so like Porky Pig fucking rapping. You know what I mean? It's like that's fucking
accurate. Yeah, accurate.
Yeah.
And I mean, and then you got auto tune. It fucks everything up. I think. I mean, it's not. It's not music if you're auto tuning your shit.
It's just fake.
Is it really your voice if you're doing that? No, it's not. It's like, I mean, that kind of leads you into the AI shit we're dealing with now. So.
Yep.
Yeah. No, exactly. It's one of those things where it's just like, I mean, there are certain tools that we have that can help you out, to like help you become better at your craft, but don't let it write or do shit for you. You know what I mean?
When it becomes, for me, when it becomes impossible to duplicate on stage, then you've gone too far.
Then you can just blame it on the rain.
Oh, good Jesus Christ!
Yeah,
that's for the originals out there. Yeah, you end up having to run off stage and reset the record player.
Oh man, yeah, or Ashley Simpson. I remember she was on Saturday Night Live, and then like I'm not sure if you guys have seen this. If not, it's like hilariously sad. But like I think the CD or something like skips forward or something, and it's live because it's Saturday Night Live, and
Mm-hmm.
she doesn't know what to do, so she just starts dancing.
Oh yeah. I don't think I saw that, but I think I remember like the story on that.
Yeah, I don't know if I saw it either, but I do remember hearing about it too. So I don't know if I've actually I may have to YouTube that because I'm sure it was like a oh shit moment, of course. But because I mean, back of course, I don't know that Saturday Night Live is as popular as it was back then. I couldn't even tell you a current cast member. I don't think, but
Well, the
no, I don't think. I don't.
the one dude, what's his Keenan Thompson, I think.
Oh, is he still there? Is he
I
still
think
there?
so. Yeah, I think it's the one I know.
Doing Good Burger 2 or something, come on.
That's actually coming out.
It's already
Really?
out. It's horrible.
Oh, is it out? Oh shit, I didn't know that. Okay.
It's horrible.
Oh, it's not good.
No, it's
Oh man. But
some things just need to be left alone.
Yeah,
like,
they really should.
like,
I mean, you don't. You,
like the Crow, but we won't get into that.
oh Jesus.
and here's the thing, it's kind of like the Sandlot, like why would you try to make a sequel to perfection? You know what I mean? So I got a question for you guys.
Okay.
Okay.
So did you guys have a favorite song off of the new record?
Let's see.
I've got like 3. That's the problem. That's the only reason why.
Share them.
That's like the only reason why I'm hesitant to answer, because I mean it's not like I don't have one, but oh man.
I'd say First Light would have to be in the running, and I hate to say because I like the Mia Cooper song, but that wasn't really like all you guys. I had Wolves at the Gate or whatever there, but it's still your guys' track, so I guess it counts.
Yeah, they were vocalists on there, and I mean it was a collab, and
it was really good too. I mean y'all complimented each other really well, I thought. So.
Yeah, it ended up being. I mean, in every release we've had so far, we've had some sort of collaboration vocally, and I don't write their parts for them. We just do it because, again, I think that's kind of like one of the things that kind of builds the foundation for Lightworker is that we're about community, and so whether that means like at the show or like when it comes to writing stuff, so like because I didn't pre-write those lyrics for Steve from Wolves of the Gate or Kyle from Fallujah. They both guest on there. The only thing I did was tell them like, hey, here's the track. This is what the song's about. This is kind of what I'm thinking, but you guys go with it. And like the tweaks that we made to the lyrics were very minimal. And I feel like they gave the song a different dimension, but while still, I mean, the music's all Lightworker, and I mean, and I'm singing on the chorus too. I'm doing the lower harmony, and also the callback and response, and then the verses, of course. So, it's just one of those things where it's just like, we just had some buddies and we're like, hey, hop on in, let's go.
And you guys have a good following, especially on Spotify. I mean, 43K is not a bad.
No, absolutely not.
For sure. Like, you need, like I said, that that song you're talking about. I was just looking it up, and it's the second most played song off the album. So that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. The reception. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say to answer your question, like I was talking about, I had the 3 songs that stood out to me the most. Track 1 and 10, obviously, the first and last, but only just because of the way that they bookended the album. The intro to Hellscape, the intro, and then the lead into the opening riff was outstanding. I think it was the perfect placement for that track. And then the way the title track kind of wrapped everything up, and then Burn Scar to me, and I didn't even know that you guys had a video for Burn Scar until later this afternoon, and I watched it, and the video was outstanding. But I mean, those 3 tracks to me were my favorites. I don't know which one is my favorite of the 3, but those are the 3 songs that really stood out. and
that's like Rusted Crown too.
That's actually saying a lot because there's really like no song on the album that I would kind of be like, all right, I can probably like move past this one on this go around. There weren't any. Yeah, no, there weren't any songs that, over time, like I've listened to so many albums that I like all the way through at the beginning, and then as time goes by, there are like some tracks that kind of fall off, and I don't know if I can pick one that I could see that happening with. So this is one of those albums for me that's a solid 10 track listen all the way through, the entire 40, 39 minutes and change.
So, actually that's funny you brought that up because I think you guys ought to hide that fact into your shirts or something. A 39, like I don't know how y'all did that, but for it to be 39 minutes, 39 seconds, that's just kind of wild to me. It's like y'all need to like Easter egg that into some t-shirts or stickers or something, man. That's fucking hilarious.
I didn't even realize that. That's pretty wild.
I'm just like, wow, how did they do that? That's crazy. Like I'm sure like a lot of, like, in entertainment business, a lot of things happen by accident that are actually, when you look back at it, you're like, wow, that's pretty amazing that happened.
I can't remember what album it was, but it was one of the, I'd have to look back, and I think it was one of the albums I did a review on earlier this year, but it was 60 minutes on the nose. And I was like, I have never been more satisfied with anything in my entire life. I was like, there was an album that was exactly 60 minutes and 0 seconds long. I was like, I am so satisfied right now. It's perfect.
Hey, it's like, hey, John, we're at 59, 58. Can you throw 2 more riffs in there for us?
I remember there's this one guy. There's this band called The Plea for Purging, and he was totally joking, but he was all, "Hey, on the deluxe edition of our album, we're just gonna throw in a couple extra breakdowns at the end, for the kids, Like,
oh, that's funny.
So, but no, that's great to hear. Yeah, Rusted Crown. That was one of the first song ideas that we actually had for the record.
Yeah.
We started playing it live, and it ended up like, so funny story about this. We started playing it live right before the record came out with our, we had 2 different legs with short legs with I Set to Kill. And the very second show that we played it at, it was hilarious. I actually ended up forgetting the lyrics to a specific part because I was trying not to laugh. But what ended up happening, that show was very memorable for 2 different reasons. Reason A was because some random chick actually ended up grabbing all of me in the crowd. That was not cool. Like, because I jumped off the stage during First Light. It was the final song. But the story about Rusted Crown is that we started playing it, and I would say it's not our heaviest song, but I would say it's probably our most violent song to date. And it was funny because people were just like, I mean, it was great. Like, people were moshing, hitting each other and stuff. But towards the end of the song, there's like, that 7 second, like calm down before it goes into the last bit. And people were still moshing and hitting each other during that part. And I was like, this is so sick. And I started singing the wrong lyrics because I was just trying not to laugh. I was just like, this is incredible. Like, just seeing people demolish each other to like a little just like clean guitar part. It was awesome.
At least it wasn't like Eyes of the Living where they was like, hey, can y'all extend your set a little? And he's like, yeah. And he had to send his guy to go get the lyrics to one of the songs because he had never played it live.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. So he had to like put it on the floor. He's like, once I get the first like chorus the first verse out of there, then I'm usually okay with it. But it's like, I couldn't remember how it started. So once he got it started, it was fine. But it was kind of funny that he's like, I said, you good, man? Because like we become friends with those guys pretty well. Because we've seen them live a couple times, and then they were friends. They come on the show, so it's kind of like we've created a bond, and that's what I like about this is we create bonds with bands, and like hopefully we'll see you guys at some point. I know we're in Nashville, so there's plenty of venues out here. So if you ever come out here, just just tell your guys to hit us up. We'll give them a list of the venues y'all can go to. So
Well, yeah, because I mean, we talked about we mentioned your guys' tour on the show last week. So
Thank you so
Yep.
much. And I will tell you this: some things have happened behind the scenes recently, very recently, less than a week recently, that I think is going to cause us to tour more. So,
nice. Hell yeah.
And hit a variety of places. So, hang in there for all the folks because we know we haven't hit the South yet, and we haven't hit the East yet. We're about to hit the East a little bit,
Nice.
but it's a long way from the left coast. So we've just been looking for the right opportunity, and I think with the adjustments that have been made, I think sooner or later, definitely during this record cycle, we'll be hitting the East Coast and the South.
So obviously you don't have that nailed down yet, but let me ask you this about the current tour that you guys got coming up with Bloodlines and American Arson. Is Capulet Fest going to be the first festival you guys have appeared at?
No, this will be the technically the third.
Okay.
But as a sign band, it's our second. We did this one small fest called Audio Feed in Champaign, Illinois, last year, and that was cool. But this will be the first one where it's like, oh crap! Like, I mean, it's outside. It has like a kind of almost Warped Tour feel to it, or Ozfest feel.
Yeah.
And and it's with some heavy duty bands where we're just kind of like, why are we here? But but we feel so blessed to be a part of it, and we're super stoked. And we're also playing with some friends that we've toured with before, so it's going to be a great time.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is too is the people are going to find out why you guys are there. If they don't know yet, they're going to know why you guys are there. So don't sell yourself short, of course.
they do a festival here. Like they started 2 years ago, right, Chris? The Metal.
Yes. Yeah. This is going to be the third year this year.
So they got a festival here called Metal Devastation. It's out in Jackson. It's toward Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys ever, or if you guys are following other of our socials, we post about it every year. So to give the bands that are on our thing a chance to, send in their stuff to try to get on that.
Yeah, they're already starting to announce the bands for this year. So I mean, at this point, I think the submissions are closed. But I mean, definitely keep you guys posted going forward for 25, because I mean they literally, I mean it is a all genre heavy metal. I mean there's metalcore, there's thrash, there's old school acts. I mean there's even there's death metal. I mean, it literally runs the gamut. So I mean there's no reason why you guys couldn't. Well, I mean, you guys would fit in musically. I mean, I can't speak for the logistics of getting all the way to Tennessee from California. I'm talking about musically, you guys would have no problem fitting in. But
no, I mean, hey, fall if you shoot me a DM, maybe I can shoot that over to behind the scenes over here, and we can see if that's something that we can make happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because we follow the organizers on and back and forth, so they follow us, we follow them. So I mean, so we do interact periodically. They're super busy, so I mean they're obviously if they're arranging festivals and stuff, but we do keep in contact over social media. So we'll kind of we can get that information over there to you guys.
So I know you kind of shared a story, but this is one of our funnest parts of the show, the interview process that we do, is we always like to hear a good road story, whether it be funny, embarrassing, or just something that kind of like, if anybody ever asks you, it's just like, oh, well, I got that. It's right here. A lot of times it's funny because we'll have like multiple big people on the show sometimes, and I'm like, tell us a good road story. And you'll see a guy already going, it's like, oh, I know he's already got one. So
yeah, I do have a funny story. And it happened I think just earlier this year. We were at Grand Junction in Colorado, and we played our first song, and and it was sick, and we were getting and so I was just like, oh, okay, like I'm having a good time. So we get into the second song, and we're it's on a down part, and I have everybody, I get everybody that was sitting down because it was kind of like a theater, so there was the pit and then there was the theater where people could actually sit down. I got everybody to stand up and clap in their hands except for this one gentleman, and I was just like, get up, and then right before he finally gets up. I neglected to even sing some of my songs because I was so determined to make sure that this dude stood up. And before we go into, it was funny, Burn Scar was actually the song, and I was just like, and I saw that he stood up. I'm like, hey man, you stood up. What's your name? And I remember his name. He was like Matt, and I was like, well, thank you so much for standing up. Are you having a good time? And he was like, hell yeah. And I was like, cool. This next song goes out to Matt. Everybody give Matt a round of applause, and everybody starts clapping. And I dedicate Burn Scar to him. Play a show. It was only the three of us performing, so I had to run back to the merch table, and just to like say hi to people and whatnot. And there was a kid there, and I was like, hey dude, what's up? And he was like, hey man, great show. Like I totally want to buy a shirt. You know that dude that was standing, that you called out, that was my dad. And I was like, oh really? I started laughing, and I was just like, yeah, the reason why he wasn't standing is because he's missing a leg.
Oh no.
Oh no.
And I was like, and I immediately, like, I just gave him a hug. I'm like, I'm so sorry, where is he? And he's like, no, don't worry about it. He loved it. He was like, the fact that you like motivated him enough to actually want to get up and balance on the railing is, I mean, it goes to show, like, that he had a great time. And I was like, where is he? And he's like, oh, he left. And then he was all like, but anyway, do you have that in my size? And I was like, no, wait, like, I can't just gloss this over. I was like, I feel so bad. But he was like, dude, he's like, I'm going to buy a shirt for him. It's all good. You made his week. And I was like, that's awesome, man.
That is a great story.
It's kind of one of those, oh shit, and then a feel good story at the end. So
right, yeah.
It's kind of a happy ending, it could have been worse, I guess. So, I could share a story on there, but I don't want to get canceled. So, my days in entertainment, but it almost cost me my job at when I was a pro wrestler for 18 years, and I was working with NWA at the time, and I almost cost me a job because I was a little. Well, you know what? It's got explicit content on here, so fuck it. So I was actually the NWA Mid American Champion at this time, and I was the bad guy, which we call heel in wrestling, and there was a whole front row of people there, or whatever, and they were just giving me shit the whole time or whatever, and I was just like, you know what, you need to set your retarded asses down and shut the hell up, let me talk, you listen to me when I'm talking. Well, little did I know that those were actually people. So,
oh boy.
So I made sure I stuck around and apologized to them and stuff. Like, hey, look, it's part of my shtick. Sorry, I did not realize that you guys were actually challenged or whatever, and they were cool with it. They were just, oh yeah, you're good, you're good. And I'm just like, no, I actually felt bad because not only that, I was about got fired, but anyway, but it was oh man, what was the name of that? It was something. It wasn't like Make a Wish, but it was something. It was like the local one around here, but anyway, it was like they gave them like 10 front row seats. They always gave them 10 front row seats every time they were able to come out, and so the promoter was chewing my ass. He was just like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? I was like, what are you talking about? Like, what the hell I do? And he was telling me, and I was like, oh shit. I just dropped my head. I'm like, shh. I said, are they still out there? Please tell me, because I was like main event. So I was like, are they still out there? And he's like, yeah, they're still here. I was like, well, I'm gonna run out before I get dressed. So I went out and made it right anyway. But yeah, it's like you just don't know. Like I said,
Right.
especially like if you're on stage. I don't know if it's like that with you guys, because I know you have lights coming in at you sometimes. But can you actually see out? Further than like 10 people or so. I mean,
depends on the venue, but usually no. And not only that, my ass is blind. So it's one of the things where it's just like, if I forget to put on my contacts or something like that, it's like good luck for me, and I hope I don't trip over something. But
yeah, my first time performing to a big crowd was like 2K or something maybe, and like we walked out, and like you could see them walking out, and then like my heart was just dropping because like my stomach, because you could see all these people like, fuck. I was like, please don't fuck up. Please don't fuck up. You're on live. We're not live, but you're on it. Well, actually, it was live. It was a live pay-per-view at that time when TNA was in Nashville. But you walk out, and I was just doing security, and still was just like, please don't. It's like, but then once you get into the ring, it's like you said, like all those lights are there, and then you only see like 12 people in each side or something. So it's like you kind of forget that they're there at that point.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can imagine like these big venues with big bands like Megadeth and Metallica and those guys, where they have to like, man, how many people's in this one? It's like so. But yeah, I do like the smaller venues myself, because you do have better chances to, like you said, go to the merch table and meet guys like you and stuff like that with and hear some stories and stuff like this. Like I just went to a show last week with Up on a Burning Body. They headlined a show with Hollow Front, Browning, Victims, which was a pretty awesome lineup, to be honest with you. They actually kind of complemented each other pretty well with that show. But talking to the lead singer from Hollow Front, name's Tyler, and he was just telling me all this stuff that went on with the band, and and he was just like, yeah, we're lucky to be a band right now. And I'm just like, this is crazy, because you don't know. I mean, you just don't know what these bands go through, with stuff like, just like, that's why we like talking to, people like you, is you kind of get a background story of kind of what makes Lightworker a Lightworker, you know what I mean? So
yeah, no, absolutely.
So before we let you go, you want to plug the socials and everything, since the album did just come out. So
yeah, you name it, we got it, except for MySpace. But
oh, come on! I mean, yeah, don't leave Tom behind. Come on, man.
Yeah. But you can find us on Instagram at Lightworker Band. Same with the kids are really into TikTok. We're on there too. And then on X or Twitter, whatever they call it, is Lightworker _SF. And then just slide into our DMs, respond. Like we want to talk to people, we want to hang out. And if you see us at the show, make sure to say hi. We're heading out with Bloodlines in about a month or so, and we're going to be hitting Capulet Fest with Nothing More, August Burns Red, I Set a ton of bands, and it's going to be a good time. And like I said, there have been things that have been happening behind the scenes, so more to come, including some contests where you can win some rad shit. So.
Oh, hell yeah!
So do y'all have hard copies of the album, or just it's all?
Oh, man, do I have hard copies of the album? Yeah, we have vinyl.
Oh, nice!
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah, here, I'll show you this, and then I'll get out of your guys' hair. But yeah, it's
cool, man.
Splatter.
Oh, it's got the little splatter. Yeah, I love it.
So
can people pick that up anywhere? Or?
You can get it from us at a show, or you can get it at the Solid State Records website. That's our label. Gotcha. They're limited to 250 copies of that variant, and then the other variant, which I think is even cooler than that one, and that one's already pretty cool. and yeah, and so we're about halfway sold out of the stock too. So
That's
it's
awesome.
yeah, it's been really cool for like a small tiny band. It's been a real blessing. So
Oh, yeah. So is there like a merch store or anything you guys have too, or you just got to go to the show?
for now, just got to go to the show. But if you're nice and you send us a DM, we'll see what we can make happen.
Ah, there we go.
You heard him, Chris. Send him a DM.
Will do. Well, hell, I mean, we just started following them because we're already following on Instagram, but now we're following on Twitter and TikTok. So
Yeah,
there's no way we're not going to be able to get in touch.
I followed him on Spotify as soon as I heard the album. So
yeah,
thank you, and feel free to follow my personal. Always down to debate the top 4 of metalcore. So
there we go. Hey, yeah, damn right.
No.
All right, man. Well, Joe, we'll let you go. Thanks for coming on the show. We loved having you. And if we don't see you in person
it's actually crazier. He's actually
it's early. It's earlier. We're
ready for go to bed. He's still got a couple hours before he
so, right. Yeah. Well. Remember, he said he's 40 and his bedtime is 10 o'clock. So it's 10 o'clock right now.
We are creeping up on that. So.
Hey, but it's Friday and that beer ain't gonna drink itself. So
that's right. That's right.
There you go. There you go. All right, Joe, man, we appreciate it. You take care. And if we don't see you soon, we hope to talk again soon. So.
Oh, absolutely, guys. Yeah, just hit me up anytime. All right,
absolutely. All right. Appreciate it, man.
Bye.
All right. Joe Calderon, everybody, lead singer of Lightworker. Check out the new album now. How the Beautiful Decay. It is on Spotify this very second. So.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Like I said, I want to give a shout out to Shane as well. He worked hard getting this set up. So he even he nudged the guys at one point. He's like, "Hey guys, let me know if you got this."
Right? Yeah.
So he was really, really cool with getting this set up. Like I said, we don't have a lot of success with when we get a middleman working.
Yeah, we've
for some reason I have no idea why. I just never had worked in our favor. So
yeah, I don't know why. Whenever we deal with it, when we've dealt with a PR person a couple of times in the past, it seems like we just get ghosted. We literally did get ghosted by one PR team, and that was so. That kind of pissed me off, but I mean, it's it is what it is. So,
yeah,
we tried.
Thanks to Joe for taking his time out to join us on that Lightworker, that new album, How the Beautiful Decay. Like he said, you could pick that up over at their band label. What was he in? Solid State. Solid State Records.
Yep.
Pick that up, or just give them a few clicks over on any of your favorite streaming platform as well.
Yep.
I know they're on Spotify, so I'm sure if they're
they are.
In Pandora and Bandcamp and all that as well. So
they got a couple music videos out too, so go check those out
on YouTube. Yep. So give them support these guys, man. They definitely deserve it. Definitely could use all the nudging and help they can get, I guess.
Yep, absolutely.
Hopefully get them traveling outside of the West.
Yeah, that would be cool. Be cool if we could get them to come to someplace like the Basement East or something like that,
Yeah,
that'd be cool as hell.
So anyway, I guess we will end the show like that this week, since it kind of pushed the 2-hour mark. So I don't want to keep anybody longer than I have to. So me and Chris will put up our album reviews up on our page there, and then share it with the group and all that good stuff. So.
Yep, we'll hold the playlist till next week. I have my well, you had yours built last week. I just had to catch up with you, so I did do that. So we'll hold that for next week. And there's a couple of things that I did want to talk about on the show. I will hold those until the Metalhead Minute coming up this Wednesday. So if you guys want to know about those,
I mean, if you want to do a few minutes just to talk about the major things, we can. I mean, that's no big deal.
I guess we can. I actually didn't pull the tabs up, but let me do that real quick. Well, I wasn't 100% sure. I wasn't 100% sure we were.
I mean, the news is going to change. So I mean,
Yeah.
not,
Well,
not
the only well then
get some of
let's
that out of the way. So.
yeah, well let's do this then because unfortunately I have a
We can kind of headline it and then or something like that if we need
yeah.
to. So
The reason why I even bring it up at all is unfortunately I have 3 passings to report. So I mean, I figure we could at least do those out of respect for them. So like I say, we'll kind of do these real quick, not trying to dismiss them or anything, but like I say, we're already at the 2-hour mark. So the 3 stories are over at Blabbermouth. First one, Steve Albini, the legendary record producer, has died of a heart attack. He was 61. In addition to fronting underground rock acts Shellac and Big Black, Albini produced albums by Nirvana, Pixies, PJ Harvey, and Jimmy Page and Robert Plant. He was an aggressive critic of musicians and others who he felt were in it for the money or popularity rather than the music, and he famously refused to take royalties from the recordings he produced for other artists. So that's the first one. The second one, also over at Blabbermouth, former Disincarnate drummer Tommy Viator has died. The news of Tommy's passing was shared by Disincarnate founder James Murphy, who has also played with Death, Obituary, and Testament. Disincarnate only released one album, 1993's Dream of the Carrion Kind, through Roadrunner Records. It was reissued in 2004 with bonus tracks. Earlier on Wednesday, May 8th, Murphy took to his social media to share a 1993 promotional photo of Disincarnate, and he wrote in an accompanying message, quote, "R.I.P. Disincarnate drummer Tommy Viator. Pictured here to the far left in 1993. I have no idea what happened. I just know that he's gone. Tommy was a key element to the band's sound with a drumming style all his own. He helped make the Dreams of the Carrion Kind album heavy as hell without a single blast beat, at least not as that technique is known today. He was wearing my leather in this pic. I don't really remember why." And then the last one, this is one of those where it's like metal adjacent because this is a guy who probably was definitely an influential figure, but founding MC5 drummer Dennis Machine Gun Thompson died Wednesday, according to the Detroit Free Press. He was 75. An exact cause of death has not been revealed, but Thompson had reportedly suffered a series of medical issues in recent months, including a heart attack in April. So there we go. I want to make sure that we get those out there. Going to get those added to I actually have already added them into the in memoriam, so we will talk about those at the end of the year also, but so wanted to get that out there. So, and then I do have another story that I was going to hold because this is something that we may want to talk about, not necessarily at length, but it's something that we probably will want to discuss, and it is not super time sensitive. So I'm going to hold on to one of them, and then
I'm gonna hold on to one of mine too because it's the changes to Spotify, and I think
I did see that.
We'll probably have to go into that a little bit deep. So
yeah. So let me do this real quick just to round out the news. Over at the PRP, Fuming Mouth have announced the departure of the guitarist Andrew Budway. And let's see, I don't think they have a replacement as of yet, so we'll keep you posted there. And then a judge has dismissed sexual assault lawsuit against Motley Crue's Tommy Lee over an alleged 2003 helicopter incident. So that
20 years later,
right? So those charges have been dismissed. So that basically catches us up on the news in a Cliff Notes version. So.
With that kind of rate, man, everybody's going to be mad with the Trump trial.
Jesus Christ, yeah.
They'd be dead by the time they do it.
Yeah, no kidding.
But anyway, I had a few. Ozzy Osbourne named his former Black Sabbath bandmate Tony Iommi as the best guitar player he's ever played with, which means a lot compared to the
right
artist that's played with him.
Yeah,
that's his personal opinion, but he just says that while he believes a lot of American guitar players play too fast, Tony, for whatever reason, is just fucking great. So.
Hey, Ozzy's entitled to his opinion just like everybody else.
Yeah. I mean, so he said it's just it's kind of like a band like Black Sabbath. They come from the streets and knew their stuff. So, I mean, they kind of grew up together, kind of. So I mean, you kind of got that history with a guy, then I guess I can get that. But saying that means just from a fan's perspective, like us, we're just like, dude, you play with like Randy Rhoads and Zach Wilde and Jakey Lee, right? I was like, But
I mean, for my money, of all of Ozzy's guitarists, give me Randy Rhoads. Like I say, but that's obviously no disrespect to anybody else, because
no,
like the pedigree of guitar player that Ozzy has had. But I mean, if you're making me pick, I'm gonna put Randy Rhoads up there.
and then unfortunately for Mastodon fans that thought they were going to get a new album, they actually were just hinting around that they're going to come out with a what is it, a tiki a limited edition 4-piece ceramic tiki mug set.
Oh, I saw that.
So, which will set you back about $92. So there you go.
Vinny Carrion knows where to get tiki mugs cheaper than that.
That's right. Yes, he does. Shout out to Vinny there.
Yeah.
Some other headlines I had was Chad Gray says metal started with Lemmy, Black Sabbath, and Metallica, which I don't know if it started with Metallica, but Metallica definitely carried on the torch, I would say, but definitely started with Black Sabbath.
It did.
You can't argue with that. So, Serge Tankian says a short System of a Down tour could possibly happen, which that's probably going to include some festival dates and probably about it, I would think.
Yeah,
Kerry King played his first solo show with some Slayer covers included in that, which I will say this, he said he's only going to play the covers that he wrote. So
that's fair.
Kudos to him for at least doing that. I mean, then he's also come out and said Slayer isn't planning on any new music or tours, which, we
No surprise.
never thought they were. I mean, but okay. So South by Southwest Festival is to take place over East London in June of 2025 for its first ever European event. So I will keep you posted on that, since I do the
festival side. Yeah.
Tours, yeah. So Converge drummer says this could be their best album yet. Compares upcoming music to Fugazi, Mars Volta, and Entombed. There goes that. Hart singer Ann Wilson finds it distracting when concert goers have their cell phones out during shows, which is, it seems like to me it's more of the older generation that has issues with that. But
yeah,
the 5-bedroom home formerly owned by Fat Mike Burkett of NOFX is up for sale for $9.2 million. So
Jesus,
empty those piggy banks out.
telling you,
5-bedroom home for $9.2 million. It's just outrageous. I live in a 5-bedroom home, and I did not pay nothing. I didn't even pay $1 million for this house.
Well, yeah.
Matter of fact, you'd probably think if I told you what I paid for this house. But Deicide's Glenn Benton is having fun again. He said he wants to get out there and be brutal. So I'm sure all Deicide fans would agree with that.
Yeah.
Metallica's All Within My Hands Foundation donates $100,000 to direct flood relief efforts in Brazil, which they might have to do in Murfreesboro as well.
Yeah, they might. Yeah.
Sebastian Bach, it's my mission to bring back the fun of rock and roll. Well, good luck with that one.
Mm-hmm.
You suck the fun out of it for a lot of people. So.
Well, yeah. So,
Motley Crue's Nikki Sixx says one of his stalkers has been rearrested for violating a restraining order, which is crazy. Then he also said it was never my intention to steal John 5 from Rob Zombie's band, which I don't think Rob Zombie gives a shit, because he got his original guitarist player black. So I think he's doing this. Brett Michaels, Dee Snider, Alice Cooper, Sammy Hagar, and Sebastian Bach are all focused on a new biography special airing on June 16th at 9 p.m. Eastern on A&E. So if you guys want to know any behind the scenes stuff with those guys, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Kerry King news this week. Kerry King wants to bang out second solo album shortly after completing the From Hell I Rise tour and cycle. So, it feels like these guys they're 60 or above, and they know, hey, we got to do these things quickly now. We don't have a lot of time to be out here bullshitting. So.
And I honestly think that Kerry King's actually got like a little bit of cabin fever too. Because he said he did not want to retire.
No,
so
he didn't.
I think he's been like chomping at the bit. I think he's just dying to get out there, and of course, we got the new album coming out relatively soon, and they're already playing shows. So I mean, he just wanted to get back to work, really. The only kind of headline I have is, and this is kind of a well-known shit, because that's even like the caption I put. They have officially canceled Blue Ridge for 2024. So
yeah, I had that too. So yeah.
They made it officially official. So
officially official, which
Yep.
doesn't surprise any of us at all. So,
Mm-mm.
and then had Dimu Bagur's Salanaz says we have been working on new music for quite a while, so we may see some Dimu Bagur music pretty soon. Battle Beast says we've been doing some songwriting for their next studio album, which is good news for Chris there.
Hey, they're an underrated band.
They are. Yeah. Striper's Michael Sweet on how his recent thyroid surgery affected his singing. He said it just feels different, which is crazy because that was an iconic voice from the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
He hit some notes that nobody could do. So.
Yeah.
Ozzy Osbourne releases his first episode of new internet TV show, The Madhouse Chronicles. Josie Scott hopes to eventually be able to perform under the Saliva name again. Look at that. Anthrax Pantera's Charlie Benante composes original score for John Wick pinball games. That's pretty cool.
That'll be fun to play.
And The Pretty Reckless has a lot of music written for their upcoming 5th album. So a lot of new music coming.
Just cranking it out.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure there was a shit ton of hit in the road stuff we could have talked about too. I don't think anything starts this week, so we can hold off, I guess.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'll just like I did a full one. So I mean, I'll just add to it. So that'd be fine. I've made it 2 weeks before, and it won't be that big of a deal to do it again.
I only had one for you, so anyway, and it was the big one that me and you both had commented on. So other than that, I didn't really have anything. So
yeah. Oh, I mean, I guess we could just talk about that one. I mean, KK's Priest and Accept are going on a North American tour starting August 31st in LA at the Whiskey A Go Go, finishing October 7th in San Francisco at the Regency Ballroom, and they are going to be in Nashville at the Brooklyn Bowl on September 24th. Maybe we'll actually get to hang with Martin.
Yeah, I'm a beer. That's what he said.
That's right.
All right, cool deal. So we won't keep you guys any longer than that. So we'll, of course, I'll edit this out for Spotify. Throw that on Spotify. So for the interview. So a lot of action over on Twitter tonight. So we appreciate you guys that tuned in over on Twitter. 10 people watching. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, got a few comments over on Instagram too. So
oh, nice.
Yeah,
I can't see any of that over here. So
yeah. Hi, Amy. You showed up just in time. We're about to sign off.
Yeah, just in time to say bye to you.
That's right. Aloha and aloha, because it means hello and goodbye. So
it does, yeah. Aloha, goodbye.
That's right.
Aloha, goodbye. Anyway, you guys see the ticker down at the bottom there. The Metalheads Unite is now playing 24-hour music on our radio station there at stream.trulyradio247.com/8008/stream. That is our new and improved site there.
Yep.
Hopefully it's improved. We'll see.
It's definitely new. We can't speak.
Yeah.
We can't speak to the improvement aspect of it just yet. We're working on it.
It's definitely not charred. I'll put it that way.
Not anymore. Yeah. So that's the good thing. Yeah. It's not the server isn't in cinders anymore. So that's good. MetalheadsUniteUSA@gmail.com is our email address. Follow us on all of our social media. Follow us on our YouTube channel, our Facebook page. Come get signed up for our Facebook group. Follow us on Rumble, on Twitter, on TikTok, on Instagram, and on... I was going to say X, but I said Twitter, but it's one and the same. So maybe I think I forgot. Maybe I forgot Twitch, but I seem to. There's almost always one I forget every week. I need to just start making a list. Just go down the list because I seem to forget one every time I try to rattle them off the top of my head. So
I did make a joke about Zero about that stuff when he told me the servers burned. I said, "Well, that's how hot my radio station was." Dude.
Yeah, there it is. Because we spit hot fire.
Hot to fire.
Dillon.
And also catch the Metalhead Unite merch store over at www.metalheadsuniteusa.com. So,
absolutely.
That look will be changing probably sooner rather than later too as well. So hopefully we'll have some updates on that in the next month at least. So we'll see. All right, then that should put us right about quitting time. So
Yep. Right before we go, thanks again to Joe Calderon of Lightworker and check out How the Beautiful Decay on Spotify and all of their social media. Go follow them. And
Great conversation.
yeah, fantastic conversation.
And also, we didn't get to show our playlist on here, so go over to Spotify, follow Metalheads Unite. It's the same as that little emblem you see up there in the top screen over Chris,
and on the T-shirt right there,
sure, yeah,
and right there.
Yeah, so just look for that.
Jason got a lot better at doing this when he was doing it. Right there. Right
I don't know how I got on this
side. The shirt.
Oh, I got on this side of the thing because I took over the
That's right. Yeah,
I forgot.
But yeah, that actually is our what the hell is it called? Thumbnail. That is our thumbnail at all of our social media. So it's if you see that one anywhere, that's us. So
it looks better than my thumbnail right now. So
oh God. Oh man.
Anyway, yeah, check out all the playlist over there, and it also has a weekly playlist of new released music there too as well. So
that's right.
Catch up on any of that all the way back to 2020. Well, the last quarter of 2023 up until now is there. So till I get all that back on the radio station, then 2023 stuff will still be there. So we're still trying to get back to our where we left off with our radio station. So.
Right. Yeah, we're slowly working our way back to that. So
we'll get there. So.
Yep.
All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed the interview. If not, you can check that out at a later time on all of our socials and on Spotify. So until next week, we'll be back and we can go over our normal programming as of now. Still got some lines in the water for some other stuff, but we'll see what happens. Till then, hopefully see you back next week. Till then, keep those horns held high. Jump in that pit anytime you can.
Have a great week, guys. Thank you very much.